We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell. If you want to support this truly independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and to grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make your comment and I will get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We have got ourselves a very, very interesting live show tonight. Very interesting live show. So buckle in, strap in. We're going to be here for a while. We are going to be here for a while. We've done a lot of work on this one. I do a lot of work on every show that I do, but this one in particular. We did an episode earlier this morning. I can't remember the number. Episode 521 maybe. 521. Go check it out. Plan B, Plan C. It looks like we're headed in that direction. And if we are, and it looks like we are, I cannot possibly see a scenario in which the SEC and the Big Ten goes to Plan B, but Plan C is not at least partially used. It's got to be. Plan B is not a solution. Plan C might not be a solution. And you might be asking yourself, what the heck is Greg talking about? Plan B, Plan C. Go check out episode 521. I got a feeling that the mild salsa, Greg Sankey is going to be dipping his chip in the mild salsa. But that's episode 521. That is a big story unto itself. If you don't know by now, the PCSA did not get voted on. It did not get voted on in the Senate before the senators go off to August recess. That's a huge story. Huge! But I'm not going to be covering that tonight. Well, I mean, I am, but not directly. Indirectly. Because first, we've already covered in episode 521. Second, we've got two big stories already tonight. We got to keep moving on here. We got to go where the story goes. There is no feet of cement at PATC. Now, a lot of you think the fat guy from Minnesota is probably really slow. I am. I'm slow getting out of my chair when I'm watching a football game. I'm slow getting out of bed in the morning as the little general is pushing me off the... But we are not feet of cement here at Peek Around the Corner. Curiosity is always at the forefront here at PATC. And yesterday and today is another great example of that. We will get to the Florida State Money Perch. Another update coming in from yesterday, late last night. And then when I knew that we could go with it, I put it on my X account at Flug Empire that we were going to have a Florida State update. Today. And I thought maybe that would be the whole show. Because that is a big, big story. But it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a live show plus. This is like a pay-per-view PATC. And for those who do not know who the Money Perch is, the Florida State Money Perch, whoo boy. Somebody sent me, first of all, we got a very kind, massive super chat to start us off tonight. Holy smokes. Ricky Tungate. My goodness. Wow. Greg, the past week you have been so busy. This past few weeks, just wanted to say this. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. Thank you for the massive super chat. I appreciate it. Helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. It does help. I gotta be honest. I do not do this. I do not do this for the income. But we have benchmarks we try to keep up. This show is growing. And hopefully it continues to grow. But again, we're definitely not for everybody. This is a national independent YouTube show, and I don't think we resemble anybody else. And we're for only the college football sickos out there that wants to talk everything in college football on a national level. And that is very difficult to do. And the reason why people don't do it, because there's not that community out there. It's a lot easier to get a community if you're covering one team or one conference. On a national level, it is very, very difficult because you're always going to be pissing off somebody out there. And that is what I do. I get every one of you upset with me at least once a month. I got to take care of an issue here. I don't know what is going on. We got a big old show tonight. And I got somebody named Deep Waters going out the deep end. I don't know if he's meaning to do that. Is that a Miami? Oh, I see. Just don't spam the board, Deep Water. Don't spam the board. You can do one of those once in a while, but not 5 in a row. All right? Thank you very much. Anyways, thank you, Ricky Tungate, for the huge, massive super chat. Appreciate it so very much. We have put a lot of time in, as you've all noticed, and we put a lot of time in tonight's show. A lot of time. I mean, I've been working on this since last night. I'll give you another example. Okay, the Florida State Money Perch. If you don't know who he is, I don't have time to talk about it tonight. If you don't want to listen to this live show because you don't know who he is, I don't blame you. He's been somebody that has given us incredible information ever since December 26, 2022. The latest, he was the one who told us about the quick strike preparation. Once we got that information, we talked about it. I poked and prod, got more information, reported more of that information. And then Ross Dellinger, 7 days later, confirmed our information. Not that we needed to confirm, but other people did. Just that alone. But the Florida State Money Perch, who has been extremely optimistic about the Seminoles lately, the last 5 months, when it comes to the next wave of realignment. We will get into that in the back half of the monologue. Before we get to that, there's a couple of things I want to chop it up with you on college football. And then there is the curious case of Senator Mike Lee. I don't know how much this has gotten around. Look, I don't know if anybody. I know I'm not the only one who knows about this, but I don't know if it's gotten into the deep waters. No pun intended. Deep water. So I got a call this morning. And by the way, I apologize for the Utah Utes logo on the picture there. I've had a very difficult time with AI lately, so I just let that lay. I've been very busy, so I apologize to all the Utah Utes. But I don't want you to leave because of that bad logo picture. Don't leave. This morning, I got a call from Chatter Behind the Curtain. I was given a heads up that Mike Lee had put an amendment in to the Protect the College Sports Act late last night or early this morning. And there was going to be language about the Protect the College Sports Act. So I could not find that language. It was not in, the congressional page. But then eventually, again, I was given the heads up that it was in there. So I took a look. And the amendment talked about, under the Protect the College Sports Act, the amendment that Mike Lee put forward, the senator of Utah, had nothing to do with the Protect the College Sports Act. But then there was a line under this verbiage that had nothing to do with the Protect the College Sports Act. There was a line that said, strike section 205. Well, you know what all section 205 is, right? Section 205 in the PCSA, basically, I'm paraphrasing, that is the section that says if you are a conference that makes over $700 million in fiscal year, blah, 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 you will not have the ability to acquisition or merger with other conferences or to grab other teams' media. In other words, you cannot expand in Section 205. You cannot expand beyond 19 members. You cannot take in a school without the 5-year probationary period in which they become an independent. Now we know Senator Moody of Florida has put an amendment out there that wants a 180-day grace period before that 5-year probationary period would kick in, that a Power 4 school that wanted to jump from one Power 4 conference to another Power 4 conference, they would have to serve a 5-year probationary period as an independent. Senator Moody of Florida, you would have a 180-day grace period to move from one conference to another after the bill was enacted, before the 5-year probationary period started. Well, at first blush, it looked like Senator Mike Lee put out an amendment that basically is striking the whole section of 205. Forget about the 180-day grace period. Forget about everything that's in that bill. There is no cap on conference expansion, on realignment. So I put out a comment. I put out a comment on X. But then I had a couple of people, a couple of individuals say, great, no. That is, if you read it, that section 205 is not about the PCSA. It's about an IRS revenue, blah, 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 blah. Things that the original Minnesota moron would never be able to understand. It was explained to me that maybe this is like a poison pill that was put in to kill all of this. So I poked and prodded and asked some people, and I said, there's some confusion. And there still is confusion tonight. I'm going to show you the evidence. And you might say the evidence points one way. You might say the evidence points the other way. At this point, I'm open to being pushed in one corner or the other. But as I sit here tonight, I got a feeling, and so a couple of other people who are a lot smarter than I am, that the part of the language that had nothing to do with the PCSA was a typo. It should not have been in that amendment. It was a mistake. It was a sloppy shop. The number looks like it was transposed. There's one number off. Now, I'm not going to show you that right now. We're going to get to that. Again, this is a big, big show. A lot of cloak and dagger stuff going on. At this moment in time, and I could be convinced to be wrong. Shells 20056. This is not TikTok. This is not a TikTok college football YouTube channel. This is not for everybody. This is for college football sickos. This is for those who have an attention span that lasts longer than 20 minutes. Let me ask you something, Shells 20056. Is anybody else have this information on Mike Lee that they're bringing right now tonight? That could be a great indication of what is going on at BYU in Utah? Is anybody else working on this all day long? Am I supposed to come up on here and just do a 2-minute show, a TikTok show? No, that's not how we do it here at Peek Around the Corner. That is not how we do it here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. So why don't you relax, sit back, take it all in, take in the presentation. All right. So as I sit here right now, and I'm willing to be convinced one way or the other, but right now I'm thinking that Senator Mike Lee slipped in an amendment that would rip out Section 205. And why would Mike Lee want to do that? Why would the senator of Utah, an alumnus of BYU, a senator of Utah, looking over Utah Utes and BYU's interests in this PCSA? Senator Mike Lee, who earlier said, what are we doing spending our time with this PCSA? What is the motivation for putting that type of amendment in? So we're going to talk about that. If he did, we're going to talk about that later in the program. We are going to go, and I want to, once again, I do want to thank Ricky Tungate for the massive super chat. I appreciate it. Very, very good, sir. Thank you very much. We got Christopher Hooter. Go Silo. $2 holler. $2 holler, Christopher Hooter. Thank you very much, sir. I very much appreciate your generosity, like always. We're going to be talking some LSU Tiger. In fact, we are going to be talking LSU Tigers twice tonight before we get into the major stories. So Christopher Hooter, buckle up and brace for impact. There we go. Now that's a great question. Greg, now get to the most important stuff. How are Gophers football practice going? I just want everybody to know something here. And then this is the only time I talk Golden Gopher propaganda tonight. I promise you. Okay? But my time is running out on talking Golden Gopher propaganda. Once the Golden Gophers lose a heartbreaker because our field goal kicker misses a 27-yard field goal, I got to put away the Golden Gopher propaganda for another year. So let me get my last shots in. Remember the name Hayden Mohr. I'm not joking. Hayden Mohr. And Golden Gopher fans like Tough Tony, you better enjoy him this year. Because unfortunately, I think he's going to be wearing a Buckeye uniform or an Oregon Duck uniform or an LSU Tiger uniform or a Florida Gator uniform or a Florida State Seminole uniform. He's from the state of Florida. And a wide receiver, a true freshman wide receiver, a mid 3-star that is completely dominating Golden Gophers practice. It is to the point where I'm getting questions about him from certain major members of the chatter behind the curtain. Hayden Mohr. Golden Gophers, enjoy him while you have him. And just remember that name. Just remember that name. Let's do the roll call here real quick. Thank you, Christopher Hooter and Ricky Tungate. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the support, helping us keep on. Maury Simmons, Helms Light, BM is in the house. Dante's in purgatory. Rod Nix is here. The Florida Man is here. Doc Boots, Tough Tony, Florida Man, AFKA, MM 101, 2MD. Daniel Gorby is in the house. Doug Steinhauser is here. Buckshot Kid, Christopher Hooter, Mama Duck, Clemson Tiger. Some in here have already started happy hour. It would not surprise me a bit. Tom DeBay is in the house. Tom DeBay. Bob Swanger. I see this thing's not working again. Hard for me to get. Ben White is in the house. Amazing Blue is here. Al Woody is here. D. Wayne is in the house. Rod Nix, David Kreitzer. I have apologized. I've already apologized on that. I apologize. Cal Bears is in the house. We've got the incredible, edible, the one and only, the Oklahoma State Cowboy, Bill G. 5 gifted memberships. Holy smokes. Tazbo, Rodney Richboard, Cal Bears, Canes fan, and Buckshot Kid were all received a gift membership by the incredible, edible Bill G. All of you are knighted early peak cloak and dagger college football. You are knighted. It means you can go to a library of episodes, watch all the episodes, including members only early peak cloak and dagger episodes, in which we just dropped one, and it's already come to life. A couple of days ago, we dropped some information on the outside forces at Florida, and then it all happened. So if you were a member of our program, you would have gotten an early peek on that. If you want to become a member of our program, go to the description box below the video, hit the link, and become a member. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you so very much for your incredible generosity. Bill G., and I say this to the Oklahoma State Cowboys fans, kind of like what I say to the LSU Tiger fans. I know some of you are upset with me because Greg the Gold is really optimistic about the LSU Tigers and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And that has gotten you all worried, petrified, and possibly, most likely, a little bit PO'd at me. You're probably a little bit upset with me. So I do want to thank you for coming on in and being very generous, Bill G. and Christopher Hooter and all that. I very much appreciate it because I get it. I understand it. You don't even want to... Look, if it is Greg the Cooler once again, the Cowboys and the Tigers are in trouble, But don't worry. It's not Greg the Cooler this year. It is Greg the Gold. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you very much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let's get into it. We got a big, for those who I did not get to, Charles Chamberlain. For those who I did not get to, I apologize, but I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us. Bill G, I'm not even sure that Greg can cool off Drew Messmaker. My goodness, Bill G.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I don't know how to take that, really. I don't know how to take that, but I'm gonna be okay with it. Tonight, I'm gonna be okay with it. All right. Man, we got a big show, and we got 192 people, so we got to get going here. We got to get going. People are going to get upset with me. All right. First of all, I want to chop it up a little bit, talk college football, before we get to the two huge stories of tonight. First of all, a quick I Do Declare update in our I Do Declare competition. The last three I Do Declares came from Thomas Coker. Florida State Wisner scores more than 20 touchdowns. That's a valuation of 5 points. Florida State's Chroma scores more than 8 touchdowns. I'm going to give that a valuation of 1. And Deuce Robinson, the big wide receiver, big red zone target, more than 10 touchdowns on the season. I gave Thomas Coker 2 valuation points. If he gets those things right, he gets those points. If he gets it wrong, those deduction of those same points. 112 I Do Declares are in the book. And the last day to get your I Do Declares in is Friday at the end of the live show, Friday, August 14th. That is the cutoff date. That is the cutoff date. All right. I want to talk some LSU Tiger here. Very interesting. I have been asked, Greg, why haven't you been talking about the meeting in the governor's mansion in Louisiana? And my answer has been because I really do not know what the heck happened. Hold on one second. Hold on. I was told to hold off on reporting on any of this because there was misreporting going on. So I held back. I did not say anything. But now we do have a report. And I did poke and prod on this. And this is the story and this plan that LSU has for generating more money. Sure does sound familiar. To me, it does. I want to hear what you guys got to say. LSU planning new media rights company with a private investor. LSU is looking at setting up a new company which would house the revenue from LSU's broadcasting rights that would be run by a board of at least 4 members, including an LSU board supervisor representative, LSU President Rousey, Louisiana Governor Landry, and a private investor, according to sources cited by Phil and blah blah of the New Orleans Times. The source said that the private investor is willing to invest $100 million in exchange, would get a 9% stake in the business, 7% of any profits. The source did not specify the extent to which the $100 million would go directly to LSU for athletic expenses or be used as seed money for the business itself. After 6 years, if the private investor chooses to get out of the business, he could sell his stake with a vote of approval from the company's board. LSU would have a right of first refusal. Southern Regional Medical Center President and LSU booster Charles Harvey has offered several interviews to outlets saying CEO Greg Williams is the investor. The source mentioned that LSU is also considering bringing in other investors who could get it up to 11% stake in the company. Though university's leaders haven't decided how many additional partners they would bring in or how that stake would be divided. LSU would likely control 80% of the new company. The new company could also hire a professional or firm to invest in the company's money into other businesses and generate a perpetual stream of revenues from that investment income. I have read this over 1,000 times. I've talked to people about this. And this basically is a scale down, because it is only one university. This is the Big Ten UC investment plan. That's what this is. That's what you create. You create a for-profit business. You get a professional dude in there or lady in there. You get a CEO in there. You have a 4-member board. The Big Ten's board would have been bigger. UC Investment would have been part of the board. UC Investment would have had a 10% stake. This investor would have a 9% stake. This is an attempt to modernize your athletic department. A standalone school. Much like what Utah's doing. But they're using a private equity firm. Ultra Capital. But again, none of these attempts or none of these that actually come to fruition are going to look exactly the same. But that's what this is. It's going to look a little different. And those differences can be huge, but that's what this is. You're taking some of that media money. You're creating a for-profit entity within your athletic department, and your university has the biggest stake in it. Just like the Utah deal, just like the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten deal is more complicated because you're going to have 18 schools. They're going to have a different percentage of stake in the deal, in this Big Ten enterprises. But that's what this is. And I think other schools are going to try to do the same thing. It's going to be a little bit different here, a little bit different there. Bringing in expertise to create more revenue, to create different revenue streams. That's what this is. These endowments, all these big university endowments, do you know who they use to create more income for their endowments? Do you know who they turn to? Private equity. A large percentage of these endowment decisions are private equity. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring that up, finally, to bring up that's one part of private equity, but that's not the story for every private equity. EDB, BMD, private equity is notorious for loaning big money, taking over operations, firing everybody, then restructuring those loans as debt, collecting fees until they bankrupt the company. That's true, but it's also not true. Not every private equity is in the NFL, private equity is in the NBA, private equity is in the Premier League. All right. So I just wanted to bring that one up, that story up. And again, right before we get to our big 2 stories of the day, there's one more thing I want to talk about, chopping it up in college football. Nomen 2024. We got a $5 holler. We've got an I do declare. My goodness. And I do declare from the Noman, from the Seminole. Oh boy. Greg, I do declare that Florida State will win 8 games this season to save Mike Norvell's job for their move to the SEC. Oh boy. All right, we're going to book that. I don't know if that should be a 3-point valuation or a 4-point valuation. What do you think, Noman? Now, 5 is the most extreme, the biggest boldness pick. This is not a 5. You would have to say Florida State's going to win 10 games to get a 5. Is it a 3 or a 4? Let me know what you think, but we will get this booked in. Daniel Gorby saying, no, I hope not. I hope not. All right, thank you, Noman. We will get that booked in. Thank you so much for your generosity. I very much appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to get that booked in. And the Noman is part of the I Do Declare World Championship. He's in there. He is in there. All right. One more thing before we get to the curious case of Senator Mike Lee. And before we get to the Florida State Perch, Money Perch update. I did a Big 12 edition. Now you guys have your I Do Declare competition going on between you PATC Einsteins. I cannot compete in that competition. Greg the Gold cannot be part of that competition. But I do want to give you my semi-bold picks. None of these are really, really, really bold. Not yet. I did my Big 12. Let's see if I can find it. Here's my Big 12 storylines for 2026 Big 12 edition. Kansas State starts the season 8-0. Satterfield out by November 7th. Texas Tech have 2 1,000-yard rushers. And Bear Bachmeier finishes in the top 8 of the Heisman voting. This is my SEC storylines of 2026. Number 1, the LSU Tigers. Jace Brown over 1,000 receiving yards. I think Jace Brown is going to be a monster this season. He's had a 700-yard season, a 500-yard season with Kansas State and A.V. Johnson. He's going down to Baton Rouge, and he's got Sam Levitt as his quarterback. He's got Lane Kiffin as his head coach. He's got that defense. Jace Brown is going to go over 1,000 yards. That is one of the storylines that I think is going to happen. Big-time player. One of the players that is going to explode under Lane Kiffin. LSU Tigers going to make it to the SEC championship game. Jace Brown over 1,000 yards. Storyline number 2. And I did see Edward, the Auburn Tiger. I think he's in the house. He's going to like this one. Edward, the Auburn Tiger, is going to like this one. Bam! Auburn Jeremiah Cobb is going to rush for over 1,200 yards. 1,200. I think he had 900 and some last year. I believe so. And now he's got Mr. Brown, Byron Brown, the quarterback. And you know the defense is going to have to I-spy Mr. Brown. Jeremiah Cobb is going to get free. Jeremiah Cobb is going to break free. Jeremiah Cobb is going to break free. I think he's going to have a huge monster year, over 1,200 yards rushing. But not to be outdone, my favorite running back in the SEC, I'm sorry for everybody else, but is the Florida Gators' Jaden Baugh. He's going to rush for over 1,400 yards. Yes? Now, I know what you're thinking. Great. You are a moron. You're an absolute moron. A Florida running back ain't going to run. He ain't no Emmitt Smith. What are you doing? Look, this guy ran for how many yards last year? 1,100? 1,100? Oh, I do like K'Wan Lacey of Ole Miss. I forgot. Yeah, I do like K'Wan Lacey's my favorite running back. But Jaden Baugh is my second favorite running back in the SEC. Thank you, Jose. Jaden Baugh had a monster season last year, and he got no help from that offense. I mean, he had to do it all. He had to carry guys on his back running downfield. Now with Aaron Philo there, and I think he's going to be the quarterback, maybe Trammell, but Mr. Coach, Head Coach Summerall, John Summerall, Jaden Baugh is going to be a possible Heisman Trophy candidate late into the season. And now for the last one. And again, AI. I've had a lot of problems with AI today, so I could barely squeeze this one in there, but I did. A lot of you are going to think I'm crazy. But there were 6 quarterbacks, I think 6, 5 or 6 in the SEC. Quarterbacks last year that threw over 3,000 yards. I think this guy is going to throw for over 3,000 yards. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong that Kentucky Kenny Minchey is not going to throw over 3,000 yards, because he is. The new Kentucky Wildcat quarterback, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. The new head coach coming from Oregon, Kenny Minchey. I think he's going to be incredibly dynamic for the Kentucky Wildcats. Incredibly dynamic. So there it is. That is my 4 storylines for the SEC. LSU, Chase Brown over 1,000 yards receiving. Jeremiah Cobb over 1,200 yards. Jaden Baugh over 1,400 yards rushing. And Kenny Minchey over 3,000 yards passing. All right. Let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 big stories on our hands. Let's get back to the first one. We set the table during the first part of the show. The curious case of Senator Mike Lee. We were told early this morning, chatted behind the curtain, that Mike Lee had put in an amendment, a PCSA amendment, Protect the College Sports Act amendment. And the language, I was given the heads up. But I could not find the language. The language was not in there. And then later I was given the heads up that it's in there now. So I went on here. And it's probably going to be pretty difficult to see. I do apologize. Okay. There. Is that better? I think that's better. All right. Okay. You see here, S4668, Protect the College Sports Act, 2026. Mike Lee submitted this amendment. And if you hit this SA 6755, if you hit that number, that populates back to the Protect the College Sports Act. Okay? Now I got this all screwed up. Where am I? All right. Hold on. Let me go back. Okay. No. Okay. Hold on, everybody. I completely screwed this up. Hold on. Okay. Now, hopefully you can see this. $6,755, which is Protect the College Sports Act. Mr. Lee, the senator, submitted an amendment intended to be proposed by him to the bill S4688 to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to classify qualified energy-efficient draft alcohol property as a 15-year property for purpose of which, again, it has nothing to do with the Protect the College Sports Act. Down here, it says strike section 205. Okay? So when I saw this, and it says strike section 205, I'm thinking, holy smokes. Senator Mike Lee wants section 205 of the Protect the College Sports Act completely stricken. Strike it. Eliminate all of it. In other words, no cap number on conference membership. None of this 5-year probationary period for being an independent. So I went onto my X account and I put a link to this and I said, look, Mike Lee, I showed the information. Then a couple of people came to me and said, Greg, that strike section 205, that has to do with IRS revenue code. This is being used as a poison pill, things of that nature. So I poked and prodded for a little bit. I've asked some really, really smart people that are smarter than I am, and they've taken a look at this. And they believe, and I believe, but I'm open to being persuaded. I have sent this off to the chatter behind the curtain that first notified me that I should keep my heads up, that Mike Lee did something here. And I have sent this out to a few other people and I haven't gotten the information back yet. But if you notice, this S4688 that has to do with an amending an Internal Revenue Code of 1986, S4688, S4668. There was 10 amendments last night. 10 of them. This was number 4668. And it was typed in at 4688. I believe that third number, I think this is a typing error. This should have been typed in at 4668. And if that would have happened, this language would have been different, I think. $4668, 4688. Now, there's been a couple of people who have dug deep. They've gone to their AI machines. They've talked to other people. This Internal Revenue Code of 1986, this S4688, which is not the Protect the College Sports Act, there is nothing in this, the 4688, or the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. There is no Section 205. There's no Section 205. So, let's bring it to this. Run with scissors. Yes, there is no Section 205 in the other 4688, the Cheers Act. All right. So, for this not to be a typo, we would have to believe that there just so happens to be a Section 205 in this number 4688, and that number just happens to be one number off from the Protect the College Sports Act amendment number. For us to believe that this was not a typo. I think this was a typo. I think this was a sloppy shop type of typo. I think, ladies and gentlemen, what occurred was, and I don't know this 100%, obviously, but I think this should have said S4668 and then had language, lingo, tying it to the Protect the College Sports Act, and then strike Section 205. Which gets us to this. If we are correct, that Senator Mike Lee truly put in an amendment last night that would strike Section 205, that would mean that Mike Lee wanted to go over the top, wanted to do more than the 180-day grace period that Senator Moody put in of the state of Florida. And the reason being is, and I'm going to go ahead and speculate, that BYU and Utah's interest has told Mike Lee that we have an opportunity in the years ahead. The 180 days grace period would not help Utah. The 180 days would not help BYU. The grace period of 180 days is not going to help BYU jump to the ACC if they wanted to go in that direction. They want to have that option. BYU would want to have an option for the best of the rest conference. BYU is probably going to want their options. But they're under the Big 12 grant of rights. They do not have a clear pathway out, not like Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC schools. So the 180 days option, the grace period, doesn't really go to the interest of BYU and Utah. So Mike Lee, I believe, went over the top and said, strike Section 205. That is my amendment. And then Utah, we have reported here at Peek Around the Corner accurately that Utah is a Big Ten candidate. We reported it, then a couple of months later, Brett McMurphy went on a couple of programs and said, yeah, Utah is a candidate, and that a Big Ten source told Brett McMurphy that Utah is a candidate because of its unique market. But it would behoove and benefit Utah that it doesn't quite happen now, because Utah is tied to the Big 12. So Mike Lee is a senator. If he's listening to BYU and Utah, right? If he's doing it for BYU and Utah, he'd be the senator that would say, yeah, strike 205. And it also helps that Mike Lee doesn't want this thing at all, this bill at all. So, I think that's what happened. Now, am I 100% sure? No. Have I been working on this all day? Yes. Does 95% of the people out there have no idea what I'm talking about? Yes. Because this hasn't really... But Mike Lee did make an amendment to the Protect the College Sports Act. I think this is a typo. Could I be proven wrong? Yes. Could have this been introduced as a poison pill? Yes. But for that to be true, you would have to believe, just pure coincidence, that this number 4688 to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 is just one number off of S4668. Oh, and it also has a Section 205 somewhere in this Internal Revenue Code of 1986, which, by the way, nobody that I've talked to has been able to find Section 205 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. So I think this is a typo. I think the language should have been about the Protect the College Sports Act, and strike 205 is the only true thing in this. Besides this number, which the Protect the College Sports Act is connected to. Senator Mike Lee, Protect the College Sports Act of 2026. This is his number to his amendment. Right there. And this is a typo. Now, I get it. I mean, a lot of people, again, probably going, what the hell are you talking about, Greg? But we reported that there'd be senators who have not had a voice in this process. Mike Lee does not represent the SEC of the Big Ten. Mike Lee was not in the in crowd with Cody Campbell and Ted Cruz. And this is Mike Lee, just like the Senator Moody of Florida, saying, wait a second here. Wait a second, this doesn't best serve my institutions in my state. I think Mike Lee slipped it in there. last night. And I think we'll probably be hearing from Mike Lee in September, when this supposedly all comes up again and it's out there for a vote. I think you're going to be hearing Mike Lee trying to strip Section 205 away from the bill. And I think there's going to be other voices added onto that. All right, so that is our curious case of Senator Mike Lee. I am very interested in what you all have to say about that case. Very much appreciate it. Bruce Harris, thank you for the $2 holla. Did you see that Ted Cruz also filed an amendment? Yes, I did. I saw the language. Something about not being able to sue conferences and stuff like that. But I really could not go into it, Bruce. I have been working on this, the curious case of Senator Mike Lee, all day long, along with the Florida State money perch story. Along with that, I wanted to do the storylines, 4 storylines of the SEC. I want to talk some college football tonight. So I really haven't delved too deep into it. I saw it, I read it. I really do not have a take on it. Let me know your take on it, Bruce Harris. But this one, Mike Lee, I think this is a massive story. Look, it's either a massive story that hasn't been covered yet by the press, or it truly was a poison pill. And that poison pill happened to have a Section 205 in it, just like the PCSA. And that poison pill happened to have an amendment number that is 1 digit off the amendment that Mike Lee put in the first place. I think it's a typo. I think there's just too many coincidences not for it to be a typo. All right. And if one of you just showed up tonight, just showed up for this live show, go back about 20 minutes. The Curious Case of Senator Mike Lee. Please tell your brothers and sisters in the BYU and Utah community about this live show and have them go back and watch this. The Curious Case of Senator Mike Lee. I think he went to bat for BYU's and Utah's sovereignty. I think he went to bat for both of his universities in the beloved state of Utah. All right. Pacific Northwest Ute, $5 holla. Mike Lee, prior BYU president, helps Utah Utes with options to merge and sell energy-efficient booze, which won't help BYU. His BYU intern didn't proofread. I think it was a typo. Now, I think it was a typo. And if you look, I don't read this stuff. I mean, I don't think I've ever been on that government board. But it looks like Strike Section 205 is like a separate tab, like a separate space for to type in information. And so the strike Section 205, I do not think that was automatically populated when whoever put in the information of the number of the amendment. So I think the language, the amendment was incorrect because of the typo of the number. And I think we're going to be hearing more of this in the coming days. If we are correct here at Peek Around the Corner. If we're not, I'll come on here tomorrow on our live show Sunday and I'm going to say, I got it wrong. But I don't think so. I don't think so. The curious case of Senator Mike Lee. All right. And I think you're going to hear other people cover this. I got a feeling the great Professor Wild Youth, Mowing After Dark, Mowing, Rock and Ran. I think they're going to be covering this maybe even tonight, Sunday night. There's a lot of people looking at this. A lot of people smarter than myself, that is for sure. Holy smokes. We've got 10 gifted memberships from Cranky Tiger. My goodness, Cranky Tiger. Wow. Wow, unbelievable. Now, unfortunately, I've lost the names to those 10 very fortunate people that was given a gift membership from Cranky Tiger. Once in a while, that happens to me on this YouTube. They did not populate the names for me. Cranky Tiger, giving off 10 gifted memberships. If you just received a membership from the incredible generosity of Mr. Clemson Tiger, Cranky Tiger, please give him your thanks. Please thank him for his incredible generosity. Cranky Tiger, and those who have received the gifted membership, all of you are knighted cloak in Dagger College Football. That means you can go to a library of episodes and watch all the episodes. Members episode, Early Peak Cloak and Dagger. We just dropped one about 3 days ago. And boy, did it come true. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. If you want the early nugget of information before we go on with it live with some of these stories, go become a member. Go to our description box below the video, hit the link, and become a member. Cranky Tiger, Clemson Tiger, thank you so much for your incredible generosity. I very much appreciate it. Wow. Woo! 10 gifted memberships. We have 10 new members. He ain't cranky today. MBM. I call it how I see it. No ignorance at all. You think they're a lock for the Big Ten. They believe because they beat USC and Oregon, they are completely on their level. Hint, hint, you aren't. Utah is not a lock for the Big Ten. In fact, I don't think anybody is, except Notre Dame and North Carolina, if they would just give the phone call. And I think Miami is possibly there as well. But anybody else, I don't think they're a lock. No way. No way. There is no locks. Almost no locks. Thank you, MBM. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to the big story. Let's go to the big story. The Florida State money perch. You know, this guy has been around since December 22nd, 2022. Actually, it was December 7th. We talked to him on December 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and then we finally went live with his information on December 26th, 2022, when he told us within a couple of months, the Florida State University was going to make a big announcement that the ACC was going to have to change it up when it comes to revenue, sharing of revenue, or Florida State is going to have to take some drastic action. 2 months later, Michael Alford on February 24th, 2023, made his public statement. And then our Money Perch told us that in the first quarter of 2024, that the Florida State Seminoles was going to take the ACC to court. He was off by 11 days. It happened on December 19th, or around on that day, somewhere around on that day. 2023. Ever since then, Florida State has been giving us the information before it hits. Just recently, the Florida State Money Perch in the last month told us, 6 weeks maybe, the Florida State Money Perch told us that Florida State was told to get prepared for a quick strike. Big Ten, SEC, just get prepared. We were blown away by that information. We talked about that information. We reported it as quick as we could. We poked and prodded with a bunch of people. Then a week later, Ross Dellinger comes out with a massive report about a shot clock, about an elevated talks between schools in the ACC and the Big Ten and the SEC. Once again, the Florida State Money Perch. Well, yesterday, I'll just say yesterday, the Florida State Money Perch gave us the update. Now, this was soon after we heard about about Senator Moody. This was after that information. He wanted us to know the following. Florida State's, hold on a second here. Florida State's perception. What certain people have been told in the administration and outside of the administration, Money Perch, one of, if not the largest reason for the optimism at Florida State, and this optimism has been going on for about 3 months, is the position of Florida. University of Florida, Gainesville. Florida Gators. Internally, Florida has given the green light for the addition of Florida State. There might be some cloaking and dagger going on between the state of Florida and the University of Florida, Gainesville. There has been a lot of work done in the last couple of years in which the state of Florida has, if I talk about too much of this, I'm going to butcher it because I don't know the real details in and out of it. But the state of Florida has done a lot of work with all the public universities. They have that research in the state of Florida, where the state of Florida is going to support a certain kind of research in all the public universities. There's other things going on between the University of Florida, Gainesville, and the state of Florida. And the state of Florida has made it known that Florida State shall not be left behind when it comes to athletic conference, the SEC. So Florida State believes that Florida is in the pocket of Florida State. That we've always asked this question, who would actually sponsor Florida State in the Big Ten? Who would actually sponsor Florida State in the SEC? As we asked questions to the Florida State Money Perch, he did stop short of calling it a sponsor. But he did say that Florida has given the green light. If the SEC wants to go down that road, let's add Florida State. So Florida is not it is not a stumbling block for Florida State. So That is one massive reason for the optimism at Florida State. Also, and I'll just give you a little bit of a backdrop here. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we've often talked about the large scoop of the SEC. Are they going to take 2? Are they going to take 4? And of course, that could go either way, depending on how this PCSA is going to play out, depending on if the SEC is going to go into some sort of silo. And that's going to largely depend on, are the SEC lawyers, are they worried if they get too big that it's going to be more difficult to go to the courts to defend their rulings on the rules that they want to make for the conference, the enforcements that they want to make for the conference. If the SEC gets too big, now will they have market power just like the NCAA? All these questions, the answers to them are unknown. But so there might be some hidden obstruction for the SEC to do the large scoop. But even that, the Florida State Money Perch, been told the large optimism in and around Tallahassee is that Florida State would be part of a 2-school blend going to the Southeastern Conference. Now, of course, this is the perception of Florida State. And this Florida State Money Perch is not a sunshine, he's not a sunshine pumper. There was a good year where he said it doesn't look good, things are not looking good, it doesn't look good. The Florida State Money Perch has said to us over and over, and we have heard this from Chatter Behind the Curtain, we have heard this from BTM and the associates over and over again, Florida State was never assured of a spot in the SEC of the Big Ten. That is a great myth. None of these schools were assured of a spot in the Big Ten of the SEC. I mean, Notre Dame knows they would have a spot. North Carolina knows they would have a spot. But none of these other schools were told, if you got out of the ACC, here is your invitation. That is a myth. And the Florida State Money Perch told us that. He was told that by Florida State people in the administration and other money perch that are on a perch a little bit higher than him. But Florida State feels good about the 2-school blend as well, as it sits last night. They think they are the pick. If it's a school that brings on a bigger market, a new footprint, and a school of a huge football brand, Florida State thinks that they are the fit for the SEC. And we pushed back on that. Not that we, of course we always push back, we always challenge, we always want to know more, and we said, okay, all right. Florida State, if the SEC is going to do a 2-scoop, if they get that opportunity, the 5-year probation stuff and all this stuff doesn't pass, and it probably won't. What about the Florida State versus Clemson? If you're looking for a blend, what about the Florida State and Clemson? And they think they have the edge on Clemson. Again, this is Florida State's perception according to Florida State Money Perch. They think they have the edge. And it has nothing to do with, it has to do with not wanting the Big Ten to get 2 schools in the state of Florida. It has to do with the fact that South Carolina, the University of South Carolina, has not been quite as friendly to the Clemson inclusion of the SEC as the University of Florida Gainesville. Again, this is according to the Florida State's perception. They might be wrong. Okay, they might be wrong. So, Florida State believes they have the edge in the small scoop, and they're going to be in the large scoop scenarios. Now, it is quite interesting what he said following up with that. He went on to say about Clemson, Florida State believes that there is a scenario out there that it is Miami and Clemson that ends up in the Big Ten. And of course, we pushed back on that. I said, why would Florida State have that perception? Why would Florida State have that perception? The Florida State Money Perch said, we know that Clemson has been, and we know this too, chatted behind the curtain, BTM, and this is not a secret what I'm about to say. Florida State Money Perch is saying this is known out there, that Clemson has really good relationship with UNC, really good relationship with Miami. And they've been talking with the Big Ten. They have not let all their eggs in one basket. So Florida State believes that Clemson cannot be left behind. They will not be left behind. And they probably will be included in the SEC large scoop. But if not, they think it's Clemson in Miami, not Miami Duke, not Miami Virginia, not Miami. So that is the Florida State's perception. And some of that probably sounds crazy to a lot of you. Some of that probably sounds sensible to a lot of you. I have learned, when we do this for 12 years, when you have a person who has been so on for so many times, for this length of time, and we know who he is, this is not we know what perch he sits on. Now, here's the thing. Florida State's perception could be wrong, right? Florida State could be getting this wrong. But if they're getting this right, the Florida State Money Perch is letting us know that Florida State believes they're in a good spot, and that hasn't always been the case. It hasn't. It hasn't. Florida State believes that the SEC, whatever they do, they're not going to allow the Big Ten to take two Florida schools. And Florida State knows that the University of Florida Gainesville has green lighted. They're fine with it. There might be some advantages for the University of Florida if they support the Florida State's addition to the SEC in governmental stuff that is going on in the state of Florida. And I don't want to get into the deep weeds on that because I'll probably get it wrong. I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, so that's it. That's it. So, in regards to the PCSA, the guy could be feeding bad info also. He could be getting fed bad info. Yes, he could. But the problem is he hasn't been getting bad info for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. Remember, the Florida State Money Perch got the info that told us that 2 months out from December 26, 2002, that the athletic director, that Florida State was going to come out and say something public about how the ACC is handling revenue distribution. February 24th, Michael Alford comes out. I mean, who had that information? The Money Perch did. And then the Money Perch said that in the first quarter, the Florida State was going to take ACC to court. It did not happen in the first quarter of 2023. He got that wrong, but it did happen on December 19th. And I think all that was accelerated because Florida State got absolutely screwed and all that stuff. And then Florida State talked about to us about the quick strike preparation. We went with that as fast as we could because we knew this guy had his stuff. And then we reported more information from other people the next day. We had chatter behind the curtain, knowing that we knew what we knew, opened the door to us. We gave more information. And then a week later, Ross Dellinger did a shot clock article. I mean, this guy has not been, who's ever talking to the Florida State Money Perch has not been they're not giving him bad information. It's the opposite of that. And there's so many there's other examples out there. I don't want to, So, again, Florida State's perception might be wrong. But according to the Florida Money Perch, this is where Florida State believes they think they're in a good spot because they've got state support, they've got the University of Florida support, and they think they're in on the small scoop or the big scoop if that should happen. Okay. Okay, let's get to the super chats and your phone calls. You know how this works. If you give us a phone call, the floor is completely yours. You can talk about anything that we talked about during our monologue, or you can talk about anything you want to talk about in college football, period. When you give us a call, the floor is completely yours. If you give us a super chat, a very kind super chat to keep the lights on, grow the channel, of course, the super chats, you take the floor. We talk about whatever you do in the super chat. Other comments I will pick and choose depending on how relative it is to what we've talked about, how interesting I think your creative writing is, and all that good stuff. Let's get to it. Before we get to the phone calls, of course, we got a super chat from the very kind Thomas Coca. Thomas Coker, 24 quick strike, big scoop, and hot salsa. But not nuke salsa because we had 3 different salsas out there. I really don't think we'll get to the hot salsa until... I think Sankey dips his chip in the green verde salsa first. And then we'll see if he dips his chip in the hot salsa. Thank you, Thomas Coker. Thank you very much for your incredible generosity. $5 holler, helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Let's get to the phones. Let me know how wrong I got it once again when I talk about the 4 storylines that are going to happen in the SEC. Jeremiah Cobb running over 1,200 yards. Jaden Baugh running out over 1,400 yards. Kenny Minchie, the Kentucky quarterback, throwing for over 3,000 yards. Jaden Brown, the wide receiver transfer from Kansas State, the wide receiver from LSU He's going to have over 1,000 yards reception. Tell me how wrong I got it once again.
Call from
Tristan Fives.
Tristan 5, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Hey, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. Let me ask, I have a couple of questions for you. So, has the SEC's position on going into a silo, has that shifted now to where that's not really something they're considering?
Well, if this doesn't pass, and it doesn't look like it's going to,
Right.
I don't think the SEC and the Big Ten are going to sit there all year next year and wait for congressional action. I think they're going to do some sort of silo. Now, it's probably going to be very conservative, very cautious. They're probably going to try to make a ruling of, this is our eligibility ruling, this is our transfer portal ruling, and then the tough one is the compensation, player compensation. But I think they're going to try to take some of that stuff, put it into their conference, and say, okay, come at us, courts. Let's have a battle in the courts. We think as a private, nonprofit organization, a conference, that we can make our own rules. Just like how the courts ruled in the Ivy League case, we think we should be able to make our own rules on transfer and eligibility, and then see how that works. So I think they got to look at some sort of silo. Not the silo of we're only going to play each other, not the extreme silo, but the cautious silo at the beginning anyways. What do you think, sir?
Well, I said I didn't like the silo.
I don't either.
I didn't want them to.
Yep.
And then when we got our first draft of this legislation, I changed it and I said, "Oh, go into a silo, please."
Yeah.
But if they're gonna mold the legislation into something that's workable, then I'm having to switch again and go into I don't want a silo. I just think it's bad for college athletics in general.
So do I.
So, hopefully someone can get, I don't know about this 19-5 thing. That feels like that just needs to go away altogether. Because there's no way that the designs of the Big Ten, Greg, and the designs of the SEC were, let's stop at 19, right? This is deliberately meant to hurt them. And that needs to go away. And I'm still thinking to myself, well, maybe they'll make it go away and they'll get something they like out of it. And then there's no need for a silo. But if that 19-5 thing sticks around, then I still want the silo, right? That's just utterly ridiculous that they would put that kind of a limitation on those two conferences. And Greg, I also want to say this, or actually this is a question for you. If, let's say that the SEC, because of the 19-5 is looming, let's say, hypothetically they decide to try and do a quick strike, and they're going to try and take 4 schools to shoot past that 19. Is it conceivable in your mind that they could try and do a quick strike with North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami? Is that a conceivable possibility?
Sure. Yeah, and I think it. I find it difficult that the SEC would end up with 3 Florida schools, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it's why we have Miami. If you look at our last theater update, it's why we have Miami as the third tier in the SEC, behind Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina. So, yeah, it's conceivable. I don't think it's a chalk, but
Right. Yeah, no,
Yep.
I understand. There's no way to know until it happens, right?
Yep.
So if they did do a quick strike, then who do you think the 4 schools would be? Like if someone was said, hey, we're going to go ahead and go to 20, who do you think the 4 schools would be for the SEC?
Oh, I think I've said it quite a bit. I think it's North Carolina. It was my prediction 2 years ago, April 9th, 2025. Virginia, North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson.
Okay.
But I think I have a 1% chance of getting that right. But that would be my prediction.
Yeah. No, and I thought that, I mean, so the recent events in Virginia seem to indicate that they're not going anywhere for the time being. Right. So, I mean, am I wrong in that, or things kind of changed there, didn't they?
Yeah, sure they did. But if I'm making a prediction which I think there's a 1% chance of getting right.
No, I know. I'm not trying to hold you to it.
So all my other predictions are less than 1% chance. So yeah, I think the Virginia piece for the SEC has become more difficult, right, than it was a year ago. Right. But the SEC couldn't act. Nobody could act. We were trying to get this thing codified. There was not going to be an expansion last year or this year. It just wasn't going to happen. That's why we did not talk. At Peek Around the Corner, we did not spend any time debating on June 1st, 2026, where you have to do the file notice of withdrawal. We had no chatter that it was happening. Everybody was saying nothing was imminent. I said that every single day. Right. But I think early 2027, I think we all got to be on our toes, Tristan, because the dynamics are even more complicated and layered this time than last time, because we don't know what Congress is going to do next. It's the Congress, the different variable piece in this is Congress. That is probably going to scare the Big Ten and SEC. They might want to take that membership number out the table and just expand and not have to use that piece to have that be negotiated with them.
Right. Okay. Well, this is all very interesting, and I appreciate you staying on top of all this.
What do you think about the Mike Lee? Did you catch that?
Remind me again, because I was sort of doing something else while I was trying to listen.
Okay, go back and watch it. It's way too complicated. I don't want to spend time. I got more phone calls, but just go back and give it a watch, please, and let me know what you think the next time you call.
I sure will. All right. Thanks a lot,
I appreciate it, sir.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Call from
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, Mr. Seminole, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Greg.
Good.
Interesting show. Yeah. Anytime you have the FSU money Perch on for a discussion, it's always good.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'm gonna say is a while back, a few shows back, you mentioned the money Perch gave you information pertaining to North Carolina. It was a emphasis on North Carolina if they can break free. In other words, if they can get out of the handcuff that they're in. So when I say get out of the handcuff, I mean that they are separated from NC State. If they can get out of that handcuff, everything will move. At that point, when the conversation came up with the money Perch, mentioned that, from the Florida State point of view, they're waiting on North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, move ahead. I'm gonna say this: do not be surprised. Do not be surprised that Florida State, possibly Clemson, come with us ahead of North Carolina, because it's going to take North Carolina some time to find the key to get from up under the state. And maybe this may be something that will break that too, because if the officials there in the state of North Carolina see, well, look, if the SEC bring in Clemson and Florida State, that may strike a fire up under them and say, hey, look, it's better for us to get one school in the Power 2 than no school in the Power 2. You got to generate some movement there. And right now, I mean, even the SEC, I know that's what they want. Big Ten want North Carolina, but both conferences again are waiting for a school. Well, they can't even wait for the school because this is coming down to their board of governors or regions, whatever. And North Carolina don't have no say-so in where they want to go. I never seen this is a mess. And Florida State, Clemson is ready. Okay, so that's why I said do not be surprised if you see FSU Clemson to go into the SEC and then SEC try to work something out with North Carolina to get them in. But right now, time is of the essence coming up. And if North Carolina can't break out and find the key, they're going to sit there for a little bit longer. I'm just telling you. Mm-hmm. And I understand there's North Carolina fans in the chat room, and I've been trying to explain this to them. They tell me, oh, yeah, they're going to find out. They haven't found the way yet. They haven't found the way yet. So it's going to have to take something to move it there, because we ain't going to be sitting here waiting on Tobacco Road to make a decision. That's been the problem with the ACC.
Yeah.
Everything moved through Tobacco Road. No. That's all I got to say, Greg. Good show. It's a very good show. And I want to say one thing. Go Noles.
Go Noles. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you, Morris Simmons. Man, the myth, the legend, Morris Simmons, legendary PATC college football caller. And we've got ourselves a $2 holla. Christopher Hooter.
From
Rod Nix.
Oh boy, we got Rod Nix on the line. Hold on, Rod, if you can, please.
I'll hold, Greg, no problem.
Christopher Hooter, $2 holler, SEC. Florida State or Miami? Not both. Pick your poison. You got the message from Baton Rouge, Christopher Hooter. Florida State or Miami? Not both. We can't handle both of them. We can't handle both of them here at LSU. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you. You did not say that, Christopher Hooter. I'm putting words into your mouth, Mr. Hooter, but thank you for the $2 holler. Very much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. We got another Seminole caller on the line. Rod Nix, the floor is yours, sir.
What's happening, Greg? How you doing, my brother?
I've been very busy, and I think tomorrow's going to be very busy. So buckle up.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that exact phrase, buckle up, first and foremost. I like the information that you got from the Money Perch. Mm-hmm. Second, it's an honor and a privilege to finally follow up behind my brother Morris Simmons.
Yeah.
Okay, and as I told you, I was in Tallahassee earlier today, went down to visit family. So I'm going to add a couple of things to what you said based on conversations we had today among some of us mid-tier boosters who had a special guest in attendance with us. Okay? The Money Perch is laying a solid foundation. You are right to be relaying this information in the careful, deliberate manner in which you're doing. We've been talking for the last 2, maybe 3 months about a quiet, growing confidence here in Tallahassee and in the the Florida State footprint. We also talked about the considerable uptake in the regional and local economic interests that were driving certain things that are going on in Tallahassee as it relates to Florida State and their desire to get out of the ACC. Those influences are really starting to pay dividends. The cash flow is significantly on the uptake into Tallahassee on multiple fronts. I repeat, on multiple fronts. What made things interesting today, Greg, as I said, us mid-tier boosters with our Veterans Alliance at Florida State University had a special guest. This special guest gave us a couple of interesting nuggets. It's ironic, and I had no knowledge of what the money perch was going to tell you, and we had no knowledge whatsoever of what you presented to the forum in regards to the University of Florida.
Okay, can I ask who the special guest was?
I can't say.
Okay.
I can't say.
All right.
I can't say. Let's just say that they have significant ties to the university and a organization they're in. That's
Got it.
all I can say.
Yep.
Okay? But what I will say is that there is a player who is no longer active in the SEC, who is a major ally to the athletic director at Florida State University. This ally has considerable clout with a SEC school. And that SEC school is quietly working along with other SEC schools, some of which were referenced in the chat. There was talk about LSU. There was talk about, you mentioned Florida. There are a couple of other schools that are leaning in that because outside of the football footprint, let's take football off the table for just a few moments. Outside of the football footprint, the regional and local economic interests across a multi-state region have shown for Olympic sports a combination of Florida State, Clemson, and Virginia Tech and or North Carolina, Virginia would be a absolute gold mine, not only for the Olympic sports, but for the various economies across that region. And that economic push is strong and it's being heard. It is one of the reasons behind the scenes we were told today. Remember, just 48 hours ago, we were asking the question, where was Senator Scott and where was Senator Moody? All of a sudden, here comes Senator Moody. The forces behind the scene are lining up big time. One other point I want to make, Greg, before I go. There is also chatter, and we will see how this plays out over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. The SEC has not, I repeat, has not abandoned a proposal they floated over a year back to possibly consider pods. If the SEC was to go to 20, that would facilitate 4 5-team pods. You would have an A, B, C, and a D. A would play their 4, and then the other 5 SEC games would come from pod B, C, or D, which could potentially rotate every year, meaning you would play every SEC school during your tenure in college football, which would flow perfectly with the new NCAA rule of 5 years to complete 5. That would be yet another major economic stimuli, and it would be a significant bargaining chip if and when the SEC goes to the table to renegotiate, or it would be a prize package to dangle in front of someone else as an alternate financing mechanism for another TV contract. So those are some of the things that we're being told as mid-tier boosters by individuals in the local/regional economies and individuals that have access to certain entities on the campus of Florida State University that are involved in the decision-making process. And I apologize, my friend, that I can't release names and the like, but it is too ironic that what you're getting from the money perch and what we're being told in the mid-tiers, just sitting around in our Veterans Alliance meetings and in some of the other functions we have as boosters, the cards are starting to line up. And as you would often say, and I'll close with this, brace for impact, brace for shock and awe. This is just beginning.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rod Nix. Thank you for the update.
No problem, my brother. Give Mama a hug for me.
I will.
I'll tune in as I head back up the road.
Even though she's an old Irish Catholic woman who's an Alabama fan, I will definitely give a hug to her from a Seminole. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem, my brother. Keep up the good work. We'll talk again soon.
Got it. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Beautiful. That is Rod Nix. Phone lines open, 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. We've got 263 people in the chat. Appreciate it. Two things. One, smash that like button if you like the content. The other thing is, can somebody give us a call and let me know what you thought about the curious case of Senator Mike Lee? Let me know if I'm off my rocker. Let me know if you think that the old typo is... Come on, Greg. Come on. It wasn't a typo. What Mike Lee did last night had nothing to do with stripping Section 205 of the PCSA. Somebody call and agree with my take, or somebody call and disagree with my take. Spent all day on this. And no one's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. My goodness. You're all going to wait till Ross Dellinger talks about it before you all talk about it. Phone lines open. Nobody has to call. Nobody's forced to call. Nobody's forced to do a super chat. There is no forcing going on here. We got a Christopher Hooter, $2 holla. Christopher Hooter, the SEC will not add anyone without UNC, period. I've heard that a lot. I'm not going to lie. That has been out there. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $2 holler. I appreciate your generosity, helping us keep the lights on. Every super chat counts. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You're very kind, Mr. Hooter. I give you a hard time, but you are very kind. Again, our SEC, my SEC store. Oh, we don't have to go to that storyline. We got a phone call.
Call from
Canes fan 1993.
Canes fan 1993 is on the line. The floor is yours.
What's going on, Greg?
I'm doing good. I have been busy, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, the late night last night. They were up till 4:30 before they finally adjourned, and we got the news they weren't going to vote on it.
Yeah, but I was up until about 1 a.m, and then I hit the bed. Yeah, I made some jokes about what was going on, and then I finally said, that's it.
So to your question about Mike Lee, I have some contacts in some of the congressional offices down here in Florida, and that's their understanding as well. So that has to do with the PCSA and not the piece there. They said that because it was going on so late, it'll take some time to get it fixed.
Yeah. It sure sounds like it. And that's a massive story, and that's going to hit hard once people understand what Mike Lee did, to put that amendment in. That's going to be a big story. Probably come out tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But here at Peek Around the Corner, we wanted to give you the peek. Go ahead. Thanks for that update.
Yeah, and I saw some other articles being written as well talking about Cory Booker. And obviously, him and Ted Cruz were the ones originally negotiating this deal before he moved on and made the deal with Maria Cantwell. But it sounds like last night he reemerged and helped put a squash to this for that vote last night. So I think he's going to be another hurdle that they're going to have to get over if they want to get this pushed anywhere through there. And that obviously adds a whole nother element to it that's going to slow it down. And they only have 15 days, I believe. But, once they get back in before Election Day to, get through all the amendments, get it blessed in the Senate, and then get it through the House with no changes. And if, the House is going to have its own changes, they're going to have to do all that too. So it's very highly unlikely they get all this through and unscathed before November.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to ask you, because I thought timing was interesting, is did you happen to see, I had sent it to you on X, but that Fox announced they're not opening the NFL deal early?
You know what? I have not spent any time talking about that because we've been so busy with everything else. But I don't know what to think about it. And I haven't really talked to anybody about it. The Fox not renegotiating with the NFL until the end of their current contract. See, and I saw a lot of comments saying, well, that might mean that the Fox would be more open to an earlier negotiations with the Big Ten. If the Big Ten should want to do a quicker expansion strike or they feel they need to before they were scheduled to internally. And maybe because Fox is not renegotiating the NFL contract, that maybe this gives the Big Ten some space to do an early renegotiation. And that might help out of Washington, that might help out in Oregon, and that might help out School of 19, School of 20 in the Big Ten. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Big Ten, I don't know if Fox would, I don't know. I really do not have a take on this. I don't know if that would help the Big Ten with early negotiations with Fox. What do you think, sir?
Well, I just know, talking to some of our sources down here and some other people that I've been fortunate enough to make connections with, the words I was told is, well, they don't want to open up that deal right now because they have some other things they need to settle first. And I wasn't given anything more than that. But obviously, the first thing that pops into my mind, especially with this bill going on, is if they have, new assets that they need to pay for with the Big Ten and try and reset that agreement, that would be a pretty big boulder they would have to move. Mm-hmm. And obviously this would help the Big Ten greatly because the NFL, once that deal actually opens up, is going to suck all the oxygen out of the room. So you're not really going to have room to maneuver until that deal is settled once they really start getting going on those negotiations.
Yeah.
But I just thought the timing of that with this bill being finalized is just very, very interesting because it was sort of, what's what I want to use, brought up without being asked, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I just found that very interesting, especially given everything else that's going on. So I wanted to hear your take on it and see if you heard anything.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody about it. I get, but you can take it either way, right? You can say, you can say that Fox might want to wait until, I don't know. I really don't know.
I guess let me ask you this. So we know that this bill probably is not going to pass, and we've talked about, we would think that if the bill doesn't pass, that either one or both conferences are going to make a move sometime in the spring to make sure that some of these terms are taken off the table by the time the new Congress gets around to deal with it, so they're not able to sort of hold the 20 cap over their head, for example. Wouldn't they need to sort of smooth out how they're going to work that if they're going to move that quickly? Obviously, like in Miami's case, they wouldn't be playing in the Big Ten until 2028 at the earliest because of the ACC's language. But I would still think they would need a lot of those media ducks in a row and sort of ironed out before they pull that trigger if they're going to go that route.
Yeah, and you never get it all ironed out until the very last second.
Right.
Having said that, there has been a lot. We've been told, the work, the elevated talks and all that. A lot of work has been done on all that stuff. So I think we're sitting at a Washington, Oregon situation where, yes, A lot of work is always done at the very end. Same thing with UCLA and USC. But a lot of the work that would take 3 months, that all has been done. So, so if you look at it from that context, I can see why people would believe, and they probably are correct, that Fox not doing an early negotiation with the NFL could help grease the skids for early renegotiation with the Big Ten. I can see why people would believe that.
And I guess the last thing I wanted to ask is, have you heard anything regarding the 24 team playoff? I think there's a meeting sometime this month
Monday.
Between all those. Oh, is it Monday? Okay.
Monday.
Is the expectation that all that's still going to be on hold until they figure out what the heck is going on with this bill back in September, or are they going to move that sort of expecting the bill's not going to do anything and they kind of have to make some decisions at this point?
I don't know. I do know the meeting is Monday.
Okay.
That's a big day. Every day is a big day, but Monday is a big day for the college football playoff discussion. Yep.
Well, I would just think that if they come out and announce they're expanding to 24, that would kind of also help, for lack of a better term, grease the skids if they're going to make a move in January after the season's over.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
Yep.
All right. Interesting. I appreciate your time, sir.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Take it easy. Bye.
Kenneth Maynard, Doc, be skeptical about anything from a money perch. It's likely BS, all speculation until proven otherwise. Look, you don't have to believe anything that the Florida State money perch has said about tonight. He's taken it from the Florida State perception. However, it is well documented. It could not be any better documented that this Florida State money perch has been proven correct so many times, Kenneth Maynard. Way more times than 90. I better not say it. He's been proven correct so much. We know who he is. I don't know I mean, the guy has been correct since December 26, 2022. It's all documented. So again, Florida State perception might be incorrect, but this guy's not BS. I mean, I don't know how many times he would have to prove it to you. Boy.
From
Jose, fight on.
Jose, fight on. The floor is yours.
How are you doing, Go for Godfather? Thank you so much for all the hard work you've been doing. And
I appreciate it,
I wanted
sir.
to stay. Yeah, I wanted to stay on. Every time I call, and I understand now why Western Civic used to take notes. He had like 5 pages of notes, he said, before he'd call in. Because it's so easy just to go off on a tangent. Like I start talking about USC, the traders, and then I totally forget about what I was calling in about initially. 20 minutes later, don't want to hog the phone line. But yeah, it's someone just said something about the money perch, and boosters and money perches have a lot of influence. And not only do they know what's going on, they kind of often direct to what direction a university might go. One prime example is USC and Notre Dame. A lot of the boosters and perches wanted the rivalry back. With the Irish. Yeah. So we have to satisfy, what they want. We want to keep them.
I mean, the
happy
money perches gave me the USC story.
Yeah, there you go.
The money perches gave me the story that we broke on Notre Dame is joining the Big Ten Hockey League. The money perches gave us the story of PJ Fleck. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with the money. Like, of course, you can disagree with what they think is going to happen and all that, but to say that it's likely BS, I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, it's all documented. I don't know what else they could. But go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, and and they can't come out and media isn't going to go and like Ross Dellinger's not going to go interview money perches, and even if he did, they probably wouldn't say anything. It's all, behind the scenes, behind the curtain.
And
The
they
chatter.
don't label them money purchase. That's the name but they do talk to money interests. All those guys
Right,
do.
yeah. Yeah, and and ADs listen to what they say. They want to make sure that they keep their alum happy.
Yeah.
So it all goes hand in hand. So yeah, not only do they have a lot of knowledge in the inner workings, or what they're trying to influence, and what other alum and money purchasers are telling them and requesting, they also have a lot of influence as to what direction the school is going to take. But Mike Lee definitely, under the cover of dark, snuck that in. It probably was so late at night that whoever he had typing it up for him, did a typo,
So you think it was a typo?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a typo. They wanted to get it in before midnight. Yeah, and I don't know if that's what you believed it was.
Why do you think he wanted that added in? Why do you think he wanted to strike Section 205? Why do you think he wanted that in the amendment?
I mean, it's it's his due diligence. He has to do his vested interest of his constituents, and even if he personally, really cares about it or not, I don't know how deep into college football he is. But if his constituents are barking up him, then he's going to have to do what they're asking for.
Yeah.
And they want to keep their options open. That's really all it boils down to. You never want options. Yeah. You never want options stripped from you. You want to be able to keep leverage.
Yes.
Whether it's going to another conference, whether it's a mini league, whatever, Smash Capital might come down the road. They want to keep their options open. And then, of course, I don't believe a super league would ever work. It's just the most absurd thing with antitrust. I mean, that'd be the first thing that would get sued into oblivion. But, yeah, they need to keep their options open. They can't have any doors shut, especially in these uncertain times. You can't be being sentenced to a 5-year probationary period and living in Cuba, like somebody had said. You have to, if you want to move from California to Florida, you got to go live in Cuba for 5 years. That's exactly what that 19-5 would be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, he knew what he was doing. Everyone else was getting in, chiming in and chirping and putting their 2 cents in. And it makes sense that he would put in and say, this 205 is absurd as it is and unconstitutional, really. And I don't even know, well, I know why it was even put in there, but how it even has made it this far is really just mind-blowing.
Now, what's the word on Mr. Gary Patterson? Is USC, is the defense, are they looking okay in camp? Are they elevating? Are they going to be a middle of the Big Ten type of defense? What say you, Jose?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be middle, and then they're going to get better as the season progresses, and that's why we need a 2014 playoff, because a team, how they are structured in week 1 is completely different how they've evolved and grown and developed in week 12. So what you really want is the best teams after their 12th game to get into the playoff. And Nicole Auerbach interviewed Lincoln Riley recently on that, and Nicole asked Lincoln about Gary Patterson, and he was saying that, he had a lot of purple in his closet. We had to buy him a lot of nice cardinal and gold digs to start wearing. Yeah. And he was like, he said, he'd always been so accustomed to seeing him in purple that it was hard getting to see him in cardinal and gold. But he said, he's bringing the structure that we really needed. He's just, he's just thoroughly enjoying having the talent that he has now to work with. That it's the learning curve is a lot sharper. Everyone's picking up faster than what he's been accustomed to in the past, and he can do a lot more. Communication is huge, and versatility as well. And now we have the depth, and that's always what killed us in the past. That Illinois game, again, when we were at Illinois, we had the lead, and then we just didn't have the thoroughbreds in the third and fourth quarter. You need to spell those players late in the game so you can bring in your top athletes and they're functioning at peak form. But yeah, definitely middle of the pack, I'd say. And then definitely as the season progresses, we're going to get better. A freshman, Luke Wafel, is going to play entirely different week 1 than how Luke Wafel is going to play week 12. Mm-hmm. But we have Shelby there. I mean, we already have extraordinary talents, and also in the secondary, Christian Pierce, Kennedy Urlacher. We finally have big star talent and depth. So I think we're going to do fantastic. And it's going to be those little those critical third and long, fourth down calls that we just, I don't know. I don't want to put anything on Anton Lynn, but it just seemed like, and a lot of the chirping at USC was, why did we play so far back? Our secondary was always like 8, 10, 12 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like, why were we giving such a big cushion on third and shorts, fourth and shorts? Like, it just didn't make sense. Gary Patterson is going to turn that around. So the play calling, if nothing else, is going to skyrocket upward.
Now, New Life, Mr. Indiana Hoosier in the chat room says, USC lost his starting center for the year in practice yesterday. And
Yeah,
I think
Keelan
your
O'Connor.
backups are two guys that don't have really any snaps under them, correct? Freshman and another dude?
Well, yeah, we're going to probably slide Tobias Raymond there to center. Keelan O'Connor didn't even start at center. He was a guard originally. They got moved to center last year, the year before. But yeah, he broke his leg. It's sad that his college football career is over now.
Oh.
So it's rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, he that's going to be a tough loss. But we have the ability to, and that's why versatility is huge, not just on defense, but on offense. We're going to probably move Tobias Raymond over at center and then plug someone else in at guard. So the competition's ongoing. But yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna warm up against the Spartans and then some Bulldogs, Fresno State, and then the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah.
We're going to be in peak form for when the conference schedule starts.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and yeah. So with Notre Dame starting and up again in 2030, and if we're at 10 conference games at that point, yeah, that'd be 11 P4 opponents that we'd be having, and only one warm-up game. But having Notre Dame at the start of the year is a lot better. We can definitely pick them off sooner than we've had difficulty competing with them, losing by 2 scores later in the season, because the Irish, they have such a good coaching staff that they just, same thing, like the learning curve is sharp. They just learn and adapt and get better so quickly through the season. And then you've seen that too, where they struggled the first 2 games last year, and then they were just unstoppable after that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, Irish are going to make some noise, but so is USC.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Yep. I got them both in the playoffs. So, alrighty, sir. Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, I think you go for Godfather. Fight on.
Fight on. Fight on. Unless you are playing the beloved Golden Gophers. Thank you so very much. Fight on, Jose. Cranky Tiger. I'm biased, but I like the Clemson to win 10 games this year. I love underdog Dabo. I like Dabo too. I do. I like Dabo. I like him. PJ Fleck reminds me of a northern version of Dabo. Not the success, not even close, but same type of motivation, same type of guy. You know what I think of Clemson. You know what I think of when I think of Clemson this year. Besides, like, is Gideon Davidson going to be is he going to become the superstar? Is Clemson going to be able to develop a running back? They used the former wide receiver Randall, who did pretty good last year, but a true running back who can be a superstar for Clemson, the ACC, is that Gideon Davidson. But the other thing I think about, they got good wide receivers. The defense has been disappointing the last few years, but I think of Tate Reynolds. And here's my problem. This is one of the reasons why I become why I used to be Greg the Cooler. Not anymore. I'm more wise now. I got more wisdom. I sit there and I watch the tape of Tate Reynolds, high school tape. And then I watch some of his, he was in some sort of camp. I don't think it was the Elite 11. It was some sort of camp. I don't know. It might have been spring camp for. He was in some sort of camp. Not the August tape, but the spring camp or some other summer camp the year before. I like Tate Reynolds. I mean, I love his tape. And I fall in love with tapes. That's my problem. I fall in love with tapes. Like Nico Marchio, the quarterback of West Virginia, who came from Arizona, he never really got, he was okay, but he just, I thought he was going to be a superstar. That is the impression I get with Tate Reynolds. The kid is an athlete. And I'm not talking a good football. Well, I'm talking about a good football athlete. But he's a good athlete, period. He's the type of kid, you put him on the basketball court, you put him on the tennis court, you put him anywhere, and you know he's going to be one of the better athletes out there. I like how he throws the football. So in my mind, I'm like, my mind is going wah, 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 with Clemson. Like Christopher Vizzini, he's never really looked good, and maybe we're being unfair to him, but he's never had, I don't think he's really had a good spring game. I saw him in a spring game a couple of years ago. He had a bad day. Probably, it's unfair to him. But I'm like, if he doesn't work out, it's not going to be good for Clemson. It's not going to be good for, well, maybe it's going to be great for Clemson. Because Tate Reynolds might be the dude. You see how conflicted I am? Cranky Tiger and Mama Duck Clemson Tiger and the rest of you. This is why I'm Greg the Cooler. I've got all these things jumbled up in my brain. And I'm having a hard time figuring out what I should do. Anyways, I'm babbling on and on and on. The Wild Ute. Now, the Wild Ute. Great content. Thank you, Godfather. Go Utes. Big time super chat. Wild Ute. I shut down the phone lines because I got to get going here. But Wild Ute, are you still here? Are you in the chat room? Because if you're still here, I'm going to open up the phone lines. And if you want to call in and talk about, Wild Ute, do you want to talk about this Mike Lee case or not? If you want to talk, I got the phone lines open. If you don't want to talk about it, if you want to still try to figure out what's going on, if you want to wait to talk about it with Moen or whoever, you don't have to call in. I'll give you a minute, Wild Ute. If you're still around, I'll give you a minute. 763-260-1333. Wild Ute, give us a call. 763-260-1333. Wild Ute. The curious case of Senator Mike Lee. Waiting for Wild Ute's phone call.
From
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute. So I've talked about the curious case of Mike Lee. I know that you know that you know that I know that I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you are even more well, you first of all, you're 1,000 times smarter than the fat guy from Minnesota, and you've got this ability to investigate this type of situation. Let us know how you're thinking, how you're feeling, what you've heard at this moment about the curious case of Senator Mike Lee.
So, Greg, I did miss the last about an hour and a half of the live show. So, if you had some good intel or new updates or stuff, I've missed it. But the understanding is it's a curious case. I mean, it looks like this came in, and it actually does have to do with the PCSA and removing Section 205. It's really confusing too, because it looks like there was a couple different references to amendments or bills that is in the language. If you actually go to like the Congress site and actually look at the language, it's super confusing and kind of muddled. So there's still a little bit of unclarity for that. But like, I think when you actually, where it points, and it does look like, and I've got a high degree of confidence that it is around the Protective College Sports Act.
Yeah.
And this thing was filed actually. It wasn't yesterday. It looks like it was late, maybe on like Thursday night.
There is a date of October 6th. I'm not October 6th, August 6th.
Yeah.
But somebody out, and I pointed that out to somebody who gave me the heads up that this was happening. And they told me to ignore that date. That's not the date it was submitted or something. Even though it says submitted 8/6, that it did not get registered until with all the other amendments. I don't know, man. Okay, maybe August 6th then.
August 6th or 7th, like there's still a little bit of unclarity, right? Like it's not completely clear, because it looks like there was a fat finger typo as part of filing this, because it was kind of rushed in. So I don't know. It still looks to me like I would wager that this is around the 205 and like the realignment clause for PCSA, just like you're thinking on it, but like it's still a little bit odd. So like your live show title's right on the nose.
Yeah.
But of course, like, I don't know, like what was discussed on the ramifications, right? That's always it's interesting to think about. If Mike Lee did file this in place, I mean, what does that really mean? What would he know? I mean, what's the reason for that? I mean, there's questions that abound. Is this related to Utah? Is it related to BYU? I mean, it's pretty juicy stuff.
Yeah, it is. It would mean that the 180-day grace period would not be of that much benefit to Utah and BYU, which I think makes sense. So he's looking further down the road to have the benefit to BYU and Utah, for them to have their options in the future.
Right, and and we've talked about before, and I've mentioned on College Football Mafia, like for Big 12 realignment discussions for BYU, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas, like there's a 16-month notice period that you have to file, right?
Yeah.
And and plus there's uncertainty with the getting out of the grant of rights and like the 99-year membership agreement and what that would look like. So it's advantageous for any Big 12 school to delay the process as long as possible to get closer to the expiration date of the GOR for the Big 12. So it makes sense. It does.
Wow. Well, I appreciate all your help today, and keep me updated, sir. There is more and more people looking at this now. And I think I've probably gotten a few answers, but I have not been able to check my messages, all of them, during this live show. So I think
awesome. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, Waju. Thanks for the call, my man. You're not gonna be on Sunday night though, right?
No, I'm not going to be on Sunday night. No, not at Mohr will though. Mohr Rock and Rant for Mohr After Dark.
Okay, be interested to see what they have to say on this.
All right, Godfather. Take care. Have a good night.
I appreciate it. Beautiful. Yeah. Waju, the professor. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get going here. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 30 minutes. Holy smokes. I do want to give special thanks to those who donated to this program, helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. I really do appreciate it, especially working on all day on this story and other stories. Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, thank you very much. Christopher Hooter, the purple and gold. Bill G, the incredible, edible Oklahoma State Cowboy. Bill G, thank you very much. No Man puts in an I do declare. I do declare No Man is part of the World Championship competition. Bruce Harris, thank you so much, Bruce Harris. I appreciate it. Cranky Tiger, massive, massive gift membership from the one and only Cranky Tiger. Incredible generosity for Cranky Tiger. Pacific Northwest Ute, thank you so much. Thomas Colker again. Christopher Hooter, thank you very much. And the Wild Ute, the professor from Utah, Mr. Utes himself. Thank you, Mama Doug Clemson Tiger. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. All of you. Until next time. We're going to be coming on live tomorrow, August 9th. I think Sunday, August 9th is going to be another beautiful day to talk college football as we get closer to week 0. And you better get your thinking caps on. You better be concentrated, focusing on who you're going to vote for. Who are the PATC Einsteins going to take in week 0 games against the spread? Because you know who you're going to be going up against this year? It's not going to be Greg the Cooler anymore. It's not going to be Greg the Cooler anymore. It's going to be Greg the Gold. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much. And always, God, family, Golden Gophers.